Hi, welcome back to Starlight Talks. I do these talks every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, so come back next week. This week I'm joined by Dara and Lillian, who both have been diagnosed with comorbid food sensitivities. And so we're going to talk about their life living with that, their diagnosis process. It is very different for both of them. So they have cool stories to tell.
Cool.
Yeah, they're cool stories, and you can give advice to people who are just starting out. So we want to talk a little bit about invisible disabilities and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited for today's show. Please check out the website where I write articles about living with autism. I have a workshop coming up in a couple weeks. In 1 week, where you can see me in person. So go to OurTism.com for both of those things. And we also have support group and life map and all these other great services. So check us out at OurTism.com and come back next week for my next live stream. I do these every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. Checks. All right. So I'm joined again by Lillian and by Dara. I've tagged both of them in the description so you guys can go see more of their stuff.
There's not much to see.
Well, I guess they can, contact you with questions if that's okay with you guys. All right. So, and as usual, if you have any questions, please start leaving them at any point you wish in the comments, and we will get to as many as we can in the hour live stream we have. So let's get started. So I know with Dara, you're very newly diagnosed, and Lillian was diagnosed, even though it didn't seem like it, very early on in life. So you're just starting this journey, and she's been diagnosed longer, but that doesn't mean you haven't been living with it your whole life. Mm-hmm. So I thought that would be interesting to talk about going through like hospitals and stuff as a kid versus when you're older, and all that. And then females.
I have so much thoughts, so much.
So start with Lillian. You want to talk about what you're diagnosed with and what it means?
So I was diagnosed with Crohn's, colitis, and acid reflux. That means that I'm on a special diet. I take medicine when I have flare-ups. I used to be on a daily dosage medication.
What is a flare-up?
It's like when you have the symptoms.
When it gets really bad and you're in pain.
Really bad. Yeah.
It's like sometimes you're okay, but then when it flares up, everything's worse. And
yeah,
that's when you are like, yeah, I have this condition.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot where it was.
Your diagnosis is what I asked.
Yeah. Did I explain it? What?
Yeah, just like what is Crohn's? Do you want to talk about like what it actually does?
It's inflammation in your intestines, basically, and absorbency, nutrients issues. I think that's basically it. There's
symptoms.
What? I mean, the symptoms range to a large amount. Diarrhea, constipation, pain down there, hurting, going to the restroom, digestion pains,
weakness and fatigue.
Yeah, weakness, fatigue. That's usually from lack of nutrients.
Yeah.
Stomach pain,
Intestinal pain,
Yeah.
cramping, bloating.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's just debilitating.
A lot of pain. You also have arthritis. Did you talk about that?
I didn't talk about arthritis. That's not a food.
I know, but you're still diagnosed with
I
it.
was okay. Arthritis, and that's bone pain and joint pain that happens anytime, and it gets worse in the cold or in humidity.
Yeah, so comorbids are really common if you have autism, and so we were talking about some of those comorbids. And so you're having anxiety disorder, so you also have comorbids with that, which would be
What's it called?
A comorbid is having
Comorbidity.
Comorbidity is having multiple diagnoses.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
you have
Yep, I have multiple diagnoses.
which is really common,
Especially for like stomach things, because like the brain is really connected to my gut, as my mom says many times a day. If you're hearing, Mom, I hear you, I know, I understand. But it's like, because the brain and your physical health is so connected. Lots of people with like mental like health issues also have physical health issues because it's so connected and intertwined. So there can be lots of overcrossing diagnosis, creating new words right now.
And so do you want to talk about some of your experiences when you were little, going through like hospital visits and stuff, trying to figure out what it is?
I can say I don't know a lot about like the stuff they talked about, because that was mostly shared with my mom, and they try to make the experience as fun as possible because I was a child. So it was a lot of like going in, doing a fun activity, them examining me in different ways, and then another fun activity while they really discussed everything with my parents. But I do know it took a long time to get diagnosed with Crohn's and colitis. And for a long time, one doctor just said that it was constipation. And I had constipation for over a year, even though I was going to the restroom every day and I was on different laxatives, which were emptying me. And every time I went, they were just like, "You're just that backed up." And it just didn't make sense. And then I went to other doctors that just couldn't figure it out. And I did every test in the book, eventually landing on Crohn's disease.
Do you remember like how you felt and what you experienced when you were going to the hospital? Like how you felt about going to the hospital?
So I went to a few different ones. I know most of them I just didn't like going. You're a kid, you don't like doctors, you don't like, I mean, even adults do, but as a kid it was just not fun. But it was so bad that I wanted an answer no matter what, especially by the end. But I would say Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, the one I went to, was amazing, and they made the experience very easy. Everything, especially like drawing blood and all that, it was a much easier process than any other place I've gone to, and I do recommend them a lot, because it wasn't a place you necessarily wanted to go, but it was enjoyable.
And so, we'll get into I want to get into specific examples, like how you dealt with like the tests, like blood tests and all those things. But let's go to Dara and talk about your diagnoses and then some of your experiences with hospitals, dealing with that getting that diagnosis.
So I've only actually been to the hospital once, and that was very recently. But like I've always like been like sensitive to food, but in like the 10th grade, I started having like what I guess you'd call flare-ups now. I didn't know at the time. I just figured they told me I was constipated too. and I just had a lot of stomach issues and anxiety about the stomach, which everybody's like, the doctors were all like, it's just anxiety, because I do have a really large fear of throwing up. There is a name of that phobia called emetophobia. So they just were like, yeah, you're nervous. So nobody ever really took it seriously. They gave me Miralax, and it would be better for a while, but then it would flare up again, and I'd be like, ah. And I would just usually go to my general practitioner and hope for the best. Then this year, I had a really, really terrible flare-up where I actually went to the hospital, and they couldn't find anything. They just took blood, and they're like, your blood's fine. And they're like, we don't want to do any x-rays or anything, because we don't want to do that to young women who could possibly have children. And sent me off. So then I saw a GI who diagnosed me with IBS, which is like a blanket term for anything wrong with the intestines and bowels. And still trying to figure that out. I still have flare-ups. He was like, yep, you're constipated, take Miralax again. And he was like, gave me some antacids to have those problems. But he didn't like find the root of the problem, and we're still trying to figure it out. But it's been annoying and long. I've seen many, many doctors recently because of the malnutrition part, because I am underweight and I want to be a healthy weight and not get tired all the time.
So, I want to talk about like some specific stories you guys may have with dealing with, you have autism, and even though you didn't know you had it, and you have anxiety. So dealing with doctors and tests, like blood tests and different tests, where like, I know you've had one where like you swallowed something that went through your body.
No.
And like all these like these different things, like and I know you're more interested in biology because that doesn't freak you out.
Yeah.
Knowing what the tests do.
I mean, some of them.
But I know that gets
no.
me anxiety knowing what happened, so I don't want to know anything going in.
That's
So, you want to talk about like some specific examples of some of those tests you did and how you dealt with that, and you being a young child is probably very different than like you now dealing with it. So, Lillian, you want to go first?
Well, I have done a bunch of tests. There was like a radiation type test where I had to eat this radiated food, and it sounds
like
gastroparesis. And you just like lay there and they watch it digest through your body, sort of thing. I did that at like 10 years old.
Oh my.
So they just played a movie, right? And I was just pretty fine. And then I had a book to read, and it was tough to lay there because I was a child. But that was pretty easy. It was a children's hospital. They made it fun. They didn't really treat it like a test. It was very much, you get to lay here and do nothing all day and not go to school and watch movies and read books, and we'll make it fun for you. There is another, I think I had to swallow a camera, and that went through my body. Again, it wasn't like the swallowing of the camera was really, really, really hard because I have a large inability and I gagged a lot, and it was very tough to do that, but I did eventually do that. And then I've had colonoscopies. Those are pretty easy. Just went in, went to sleep, woke up, it was over.
You have to drink that really big drink, don't you?
Yes, you have to.
That's terrifying.
Drink.
That's what scares me.
I think one of the times I couldn't actually finish it because I like started gagging and I was gonna puke, and if I puked it up, I have to start all over. So I had to like stop, and then I think I had enough of it though that I didn't have to actually finish it. But it was, I mean, you just drink it down. I don't. It depends on the taste to you. It didn't taste like anything.
That's good.
It was one of those, like, it didn't taste bad, but you just like still didn't want to drink it. It was just one of those that you're just like, it doesn't taste like anything, so I don't want to drink it. But
I've heard
you
from
just gulp it down.
some people that
and
tastes
then
awful.
some people can't stand the taste. So, I mean, you just drink it as fast as you can is what I recommend. The slower it goes, the harder it is. And it's really thick. It's like a milkshake.
Yeah.
But I think they have different flavors now. Because I think the second time I went, they had more flavors. The first time I went, they just not. The blood tests, I mean, I had to get it like once a month or something. So that was miserable, and it was horrible at the beginning, but I did get used to it. I know I don't like looking at it. I usually sat in my dad's lap and buried my head so I couldn't see and just had someone do it. And I had someone that I knew could do it every time, and I requested her if I could have her. And always have the nurses do it. Never let the doctor do it, because I did have the doctor do it once, and he missed 3 times, and it was horrible. But I'm pretty good at blood tests now, but there were a lot of tantrums at the beginning.
And you actually trust doctors more than me, because I had some bad experience of them not listening to me. And so, like, when I have to go to the doctors, I have a lot of anxiety around there where I don't trust them. Like, I remember I had that pressure thing in my ear that gets rid of the earwax, because I had so much earwax, and like I was freaking out just about that. And like, they just squirt water in your ear, and or like it's not with this pressure thing, and it pops it out. And like, I was freaking out. And my dad's like, "What are you freaking out about? It's nothing." I was like, "I just don't know what's gonna happen, or it's gonna feel weird, or it's gonna hurt." Or, like, because I've been told things are gonna hurt, and they did hurt. And but with you seem to trust them more, because it, like, even though like it's not a great experience to ever like go to the doctors, but like you had more experience where they did listen to you, and they did, they did these tests and took care of you when they did them.
I definitely like the hospital over the pediatrician. Yeah. Which is strange to say, but the hospital, they've got it down. The children's hospital was amazing. Very sad that I can't go there anymore.
I've changed
to an adult. No, I'm an adult now. I can't go to the children's
hospital. Let's just
hospital.
go there and do all our checkups.
Just sneak on in.
So do you want to talk about some specific tests you've done?
Yeah,
and how you dealt with that.
I always just get extremely nervous going to the doctor. Like, I won't feel well like going to like just a regular appointment, because I'm nervous, and I get so nervous. But I've had to get a good number of blood tests. I remember when I was really young, the nurses had to like hold me down because I was so scared. So that was not a good experience. Like, I can do it now, but it always ends up hurting me. I don't know. Like, I'm just very sensitive to pain. So like, I'm still not like always used to it. And I haven't gotten that many tests. Like, mainly it's just been blood tests and like doing the regular ones. They haven't done any like other things, because they're like, we don't want to like do anything if it's not necessary. So I don't know if maybe it is necessary, and if I do need to get something more, because I do have these symptoms and they're just thinking it's not as serious as it is. I just don't know. But I'm always terrified of doctors, but like nothing terrible has really happened to me at them. Like, they haven't done any tests. I'm actually supposed to get a CAT scan at some point over this break, but I don't have the time right now, or the doctor.
So do you want to talk about how you dealt with school and like absences and that area of life when being sick and having to go to the hospital or stay home and not be able to attend because you're not feeling well, and how you've dealt with grades, with missing assignments, with teachers. We'll get to like social life and that later, but I want to talk about specifically school right now. So I know you've dealt with it.
I've dealt with a lot of
over the
different
years. So like when you
experiences with it,
Yeah.
and it started off as almost traumatic the way the school treated me with it. That I didn't have a diagnosis, and they just told my parents that I was lying to them and I didn't have stomach pains, and they should be making me go to school. And I had a terrible relationship with my teacher and the principal of my elementary school. I did eventually get pulled out because of this, and not because of me, because of them. And I was on is it called home hospital?
Home hospital care.
Home hospital care, which is a homeschooling program. And I was miserable because I was sick, but I definitely preferred that over the way the school system was treating me. And then after that, and I started going to remission and I had a diagnosis, I tried going back into the public school system, and I did a half day type thing, and that worked out well, but it wasn't sustainable. So I ended up going to a private school that was much more welcoming and were able to give me all the accommodations I needed that went along with my physical disability. I didn't quite have the autism diagnosis, and I didn't know I had that, which maybe knowing that I would have been able to go to public school, but I didn't have that yet. So I went to a private school where they were very accommodating to my absences and made it very easy for me to do what I needed to do, and eventually start going to school more once I started being able to handle more.
So Dara, do you want to
Yeah.
touch on that?
So I've had, like, at least in like my public school, like elementary, middle, and high school days, there would be days where I would take a lot of mental health days, and my mom was very understanding about it. So I would stay home. And me being me, like, it didn't really affect me that badly because I would do all the work and I never really hurt my grades or anything or missed anything because I would catch up. So I would just take time off and stay in. It would be hard. Like, sometimes I'd be at high school and I just, like, I wouldn't know, like, I wouldn't be like sick, but I'd be having like flare up and I would just not know exactly what to do. But I just like go to the nurse and they like knew me by name. All the schools, like, I'm buds with the nurses there because I go so much. And then, yeah, just thinking it never really affected me that badly with the work because I'm a big nerd and I love doing work. So, like, I got everything done and that was never a problem.
Did you have any teachers say something to you about your absences, or like they come to school, like, and ask you like how you doing and like that kind of stuff, how that made you feel? Like, did you ever feel called out as like the sick kid in front of everyone?
Not really. I guess, like, I wasn't as absent as I think I was because I did go to school a lot because I was scared of missing it. But I feel like for my teachers, at least, I don't know, they didn't ever really seem to mind. I guess it's because, like, I always had everything ready. Like, sometimes they'd be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I don't think they really questioned it. My school was a huge school, so there were so many students. I think doing that would just like lose them the energy. And like, I did the work, so they were like, "Oh, we don't really have to worry about it." But then, like,
I remember in college, I missed a week due to some autism flare-ups, and I came to, like, I had one teacher that asked me in front of the class like why I was absent, and then when I said, oh, it had something to do with my autism, like, she wanted me to explain it fully. Yeah. And so like they like, I know there's like teachers that like take absences so harshly on them, so personal like that, where they want you to really like defend yourself like you were home just goofing around all day. And there's other teachers that get it. So I don't know if those teachers like never have met a sick person in their life. But so like not having a something and experiencing that something as often as you guys experience being sick. I get that like you guys might get something along those lines with the teacher, someone that you wants you there every day, but you can't be there every day.
I think the biggest thing was that the private school I went to had this weird policy of like no napping. If you went to sleep for more than 10 minutes, they had to send you home. So like at the public school, I would just anytime, because most people know if you have chronic pain, you reach that fatigue. You need to rest often. And so in school, I would just go to the nurse's office and go like, I just need a nap. Can I nap for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then go back to class? And usually I could do that. But then when I switched to the private school, they had this weird, you can only nap for 10 minutes or we have to send you home. So
10 minutes makes you even more tired.
Yeah.
You're supposed to nap for like, I don't know, like at 40 minutes to an hour or something to feel refreshed. Like you can't just nap for 15, 20 minutes. Like you feel even more tired.
So I literally had to sneak naps in, even though I had accommodations that mentioned all of these issues. They wouldn't let that happen, which was a huge thing because then if I hit that fatigue and I went home, I wasn't coming back. I mean, you're already home. Why would you go back to school? Especially because my school was about 35 minutes to an hour away, depending on what I took to school. So.
Yeah, that's strange. So yeah, and we're twins, so like when I was in school, I remember people like always ask me, how's Lillian doing? Where is she today? All those kind of questions. And so it got to a point where I was like, is anyone gonna ask how I'm doing? And so like I don't know how much, like when you're not there, you don't know what happened, but they like, it's weird how people talk. They notice those days where you say, wow, Lily takes a lot of sick days, or like they start talking about it. But then when you came back, it was all like, oh, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And they didn't say those same things, like, oh, how come you took so many days off? Instead of like, I only normally take these many days when I'm sick. Like they didn't ask you those questions. But I remember they asked me those questions. And so I don't know like if your friends got those questions on your behalf or if they were asking you directly, because I know I don't have someone like
direct,
that.
like close friends would ask me those questions. But yeah, I never got asked that by people. And for me, like I was willing to share. I have a disability, experience chronic pain where I literally can't get out of bed sometimes. I wasn't ashamed of it. I got upset, by the way, in middle school, the way I was treated by my friends, that it didn't seem like they cared. They didn't put in effort to get to know what was going on with me. They treated me almost like they forgot about me a lot. It was hard. But we're also middle school and we don't understand those sort of things.
I remember watching TV shows where like one of the friends would get sick, like which is just a cold or something, and like all their friends would show up after school with like their homework and also bring them tissues and also bring them soup and like sit with them and be like, here's what happened today, we all missed you. And like
that doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. And like I've had friends in the hospital and gone to visit them in the hospital, and they're like, yeah, you're the only person that visited me. Like, what?
I was never visited in the hospital. People knew I had
Well,
stuff.
when you were in the hospital, I had a phobia of hospitals.
Well, okay,
so
you're
I didn't.
different. You're different. Okay.
Now I would have.
but-
But I had a huge phobia of.
Yeah.
I'm getting better. I'm getting over that a little bit.
I spent Valentine's Day in the hospital, and I didn't even get one Valentine card from friends because I wasn't there at school.
Yeah.
They didn't even save it to like give her later. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's known like elementary, middle, and high school. Like my friends, like they're great people, but they didn't always like because like I didn't know it was a chronic illness or anything like that at the time, so they just figured I was sick. But I think like one time a friend dropped off soup, but it was always just kind of like not a big deal to anybody. Like it wasn't even a big deal to myself at the time because I didn't really know how hard it actually was for me. But when I did go to the hospital this past semester, all my friends went with me to see me, and it was like really nice for me to like have them there and like actually have people checking them up because like I wasn't used to it.
Yeah, it's so much nicer when someone shows up, even if it's just one person. You're like,
in just 5 minutes, just go and say, "Oh, I hope you feel better." Like I don't have long. I just wanted to check it. Like that feels so good, right?
a call is good.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like it's more common that people I've talked to who've been through something like this. It's more common to lose friends because they're like, oh, you don't show up. Oh, this reason, that reason. Out of sight, out of mind, rather than, oh, I understand they're actually sick and they can't make it. Maybe I should spend effort going to them instead of expecting them to come to me.
Yep.
So do you want to talk about what it's like not feeling well and trying to explain that to a friend or someone who doesn't quite understand?
And I've had to explain to a few teachers who didn't get it. Usually teachers still don't get it, which is weird, but friends often, they may not quite get it, but they'll at least relax a little bit about crazy things like hanging out or not showing up to things. I've had friends on me about like, why aren't you in school? But usually when I explain it, they back off a little bit. But people, especially kids in school, don't really get it until they know someone really close to them and watch them go through it or go through something like it themselves. It's really hard to explain to people and for people to get it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how, like, a lot of times, like, I would go, but sometimes I would just say I was too tired or not feeling well. Like, I never really had that much of issues.
Well, you talked about recently that you've had compliments on things due to appearances or something. That like you're skinny because you're sick.
Oh yeah.
And like people compliment that, and it doesn't feel good when you're complimented. Like if you're complimented, oh wow, you look really nice and pale. Oh, like your skin is nice, or like something like that. Where you're like, well, I haven't been out in the sun because I'm sick. And so it doesn't feel good when you get like those kind of compliments when it's something like due to being sick. Well, I haven't been eating a lot, so that's why I lost the weight. Not because I've been exercising, I've been doing great.
Yeah, that doesn't happen to me that much. It's basically just like a few people, but it is like really frustrating to like have to explain that.
And yeah, I'd say more often than not, people don't ask. It's really easy to fly under the radar because no one asks the question, and like you feel awkward bringing it up sometimes. It's really hard to know when to tell people. I know it's really easy to tell your closest friends, but like to just tell a classmate who seems off about it, but most people don't ask.
So, what's it like deciding to go when you're not feeling well, whether it's worth going and doing something
so
like
hard.
leaving the house, going to a friend?
Like I get extreme fear of missing out, and like I feel so depressed when I can't go because I like don't, because I've missed out on so many things, and it's really difficult. And like sometimes I try to force myself to go even when I don't, and then I end up having a panic attack and feeling so terrible. Then when I don't go, I just feel like my friends are off having fun without me, and I'm just like alone.
Because even if you are feeling good as well, you also have that anxiety, when am I gonna have a flare up?
Yeah.
Because even if you do everything right and there's certain things that you're not supposed to eat, you don't eat them, all this kind of things, flare ups can still happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
when I was younger, the bathroom issue was a big one, that if there wasn't a bathroom nearby, I couldn't go places. Going to the park alone, if there wasn't a bathroom at the park, I would just tell people I'm not going. If a car ride was more than 30 minutes, I wasn't going.
I freak out about long car rides.
It was a big thing for me to not have a bathroom nearby. And then, yeah, the fear of a flare-up of food, I would go a lot of places, have to bring my own food, which also a lot of people were offended by when I was younger, which didn't make sense to me, that I would go to a restaurant, not eat, and bring food to eat, because I didn't want to miss out on hanging out with my friends, but I couldn't eat the food at the restaurant because I had so many things I couldn't eat. Going to a party where they ordered pizza, and I couldn't eat pizza because that was at every party, and so I would bring my own food, and that was a thing that I went through. And I know it was the worst when I would talk to them in advance. They said they would have food or something for me, and I would show up and they didn't, because they decided to order food I couldn't have, or just had soda and nothing else, not even water. That was probably the hardest for me, having to deal with that, going hungry or having to leave to get food.
I just miss food. I miss because only recently has it been really food triggering things, but I just there's so much food I crave and I just can't really eat it now. And sometimes I'm should I try? And I get scared about it, which makes me feel sick already. So it's is it even food or my anxiety now? I just miss being able to eat a gigantic brownie sundae. I used to love it.
Yeah, because I'm allergic to certain nuts. And so when I'm I don't know if there's nuts in it, my stomach already hurts thinking about what that reaction would be. It's am I having a reaction, or am I just having anxiety that I'm gonna have a reaction? Mm-hmm. So dealing with that could happen at any moment. That's terrifying. I get it.
Yeah, and just keeps me from eating, because I see something yummy, I'm oh, but what if I feel bad? And then it doesn't even matter what I eat, because it just happens anyway because of the condition. So it's very frustrating. One of the reasons I have trouble with weight is just because anxiety around eating, and what will happen if I eat. It's not about the food per se, but if my stomach will react at all to this food. Because sometimes I'll have dairy and I'll be fine, and sometimes I have it and my stomach hurts, and it might not even be correlated, but it just happens. So I just never know. I had ice cream for the first time in a long time today, and I was fine after it, but one time I had cereal with milk, and the next morning I could not do anything at all. So it's just very, very random, which makes it stressful.
So has anyone mistaken your food sensitivities for picky eating? Yes. And still tried to serve you that food?
Yes. And also, a lot of restaurants are, and I don't understand how they don't correlate it, don't understand allergies, that unless it's nuts or peanuts specifically, you tell them not to put something on it, and then they put it on, and then you say, I'm allergic to this, and they try to pick it out of your food, and you're it's an allergy, and they're but it's not in it anymore. But you're if I say to them, if someone allergic to peanuts ordered a salad with peanuts in it and you picked out the peanuts, would you serve them that salad? Like, oh, never. I'm allergic. The same reaction would happen to me. Even though it's not necessarily the same reaction, you have to say that for them to get that you can't have that food item. If it's tomatoes or celery or whatever that item is that's not peanuts, you have to explain to them that it's still the same allergy, that you could still get sick. And I don't understand how that's not understood in the food industry itself, but also amongst other people, friends, family. I was just at a holiday get together and I can't have tomatoes, and we made the same item, one with tomatoes and one without, and a family member decided to put them both on the same tray.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It's an allergy.
I just know that I have a one of my family members is lactose intolerant and like cannot have dairy, and they told this waiter that, and then the waiter brings out a salad and there's cheese on it. He's like, I can't have this, and like, it's a salad. And he's like, it didn't say whatever. She's like, we're an Italian place, everything has cheese on it. He's like, doesn't matter, allergic. It's like all the stories about it.
Yeah, it's a strange thing that people don't understand allergies unless it's specifically nuts. And if you understand the nut allergy, you should not understand every allergy.
Yeah, Danny says he likes my neck thing. It's a turtleneck.
Well, it is a neck thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I read in the book that I want to cover up that autistic people love turtlenecks. So
I hate turtlenecks. They make me feel like my neck is like trapped. I can't wear them. It freaks me out so much.
I love turtlenecks. They're so nice.
They're so uncomfortable. Like your neck is being squeezed. It's like somebody's like squeezing your neck and like trying to like suffocate you.
that is not what it feels like to me.
It's so
It feels like it's protecting my skin. Like the worst place for skin on skin contact to happen is the neck.
I don't like anything
So-
touching my neck, even clothing. Like I can't have anything.
Like
touch
it's one of the more sensitive parts of my body. I think of anyone's body, and it's so for me it's protection.
Strangely to me, it's the back of the neck and not the front of the neck.
Oh yeah, the back of the neck, and then like
That you can do whatever to the front of the neck, but you touch the back of the neck and you're getting a punch in the face. It's just happening.
and then like wind hits it, and it's just like a chill down my spine. So it's protection.
So like it's really nice.
I do think it is
Scarves are
rather
nice.
big one.
Yeah, I like them tight.
Um,
Chokers. Oh my
No.
I remember
Peter Pan collars.
Yeah, I remember someone saying, "Wow, that necklace looks like it's choking you." It's a choker. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Off topic.
Moving on. But thank you for that. What were we talking about? People not understanding. I feel like we were just talking recently about something, but I can't remember what it was. What else? So, birthday parties. Where you're there long enough where you need a meal. Family gatherings, or like you have dinner together.
Family gatherings I can definitely talk about, because they pick restaurants where it'd be like nothing on the menu I could eat, and I just like get so upset because I need food really often. Like they wouldn't have anything, and I'd get low blood sugar, and I'd just like start crying. I'd feel like so ostracized by them because be like, just suck it up, and it was like, it's not that easy.
You're talking about the invisible disability side of it, like growing up with Lillian, when I'm around someone who has all these sensitivities, I go, well, Lillian should pick the place because she needs somewhere where she can eat.
Yeah.
And so we can go somewhere that has food that she can eat, but does she like it? So it's like she's already has to cut it down to like, this is what I can eat. So then it's like, here's the options at that place, but now do I like those options?
Yeah.
So there is stuff she can eat at a Mexican place, and I love Mexican food, but she doesn't like the options that are left over.
Yeah, when your options are narrowed down to 4 items and you don't like those 4 items.
Yeah, my cousin has Asperger's, and the family they always pick their restaurant, and they would just bring in like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with them instead of like going to a place where they knew he liked stuff. And like I remember one year they picked dim sum, and it was like he just left to get like a burger because he just wouldn't eat it. I was just like, why can't we just pick a place to begin with that, like, let us look at the menu first and pick a few things before we go to a place. And just like, I think it's more just like within the family, it's like, oh, the kids don't have a say, like the adults pick. And I think it's like when you should be able to like have everybody in agreement, and food is very important. It's an integral part of like our days. And to like go to a place and feel so stuck because you're starving and there's nothing on the menu you can eat, it's like so terrible.
Yeah, definitely like it better when I have the say in the place. I mean, I get it if it's someone else's party and they chose a restaurant, it's their birthday, it's their get together, I'll show up and not eat.
You'll prepare by eating right before,
or
like bringing food to eat after or whatever.
Yeah, it's the sometimes weird judgment of not eating there. Also comes up, which I don't understand. I mean, there's also people who can't afford to eat. There's a bunch of reasons why people won't eat at the place. But for me, it's allergies, and that should be very acceptable. But it's not, and it's not a common thing for people to go to places and not eat while someone else eats.
Yeah, I find that really odd as well, because like especially if it's an event like that where it's a birthday or Christmas or something, like it's not about eating. Like it's not like, oh, I'm hungry, let's go eat, and then not eating. It's like celebrating that person. So it's about showing up. Just like I've had birthdays where I went to a concert and invited people, and they're like, oh, I don't like that music. Like, that's not what it's about, though. It's about my birthday. I like that music. Come with me and celebrate the day. Right? Like, that's what I think of that stuff. I don't know why that's not a thing everyone.
I mean, you can let them know, I would love to go, but I want to let you know I don't like that music. If there's someone else you prefer to take who would enjoy that music, give them my ticket. But I would love to go with you. Like, that sort of response you can have, but
and like just like if like that kind of music like stresses you out or something, like just say
that's
that.
A whole different thing.
Yeah,
you know, if like it affects your mental health, or if you have autism and it's a sensory overload experience, like that's fine. But just to say, well, I don't like that kind of music is such a strange excuse when it for someone's birthday, like obviously. So I was just like, hey,
I figured.
Multiple people. I've had actually someone show up and then say, oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and just left.
What?
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah. So it's crazy. Super crazy. What is it called? Yeah. So when it's like, obviously if I just call someone and say, hey, we want to go to the concert with me, that's a different thing. But like when I'm talking about these like birthdays or like family things where it's like about being together rather than the concert itself.
Yeah.
And then, but also for me, it's like when someone else enjoys something a lot, it makes me enjoy it even more. So if it's something like I can handle, where I'm not having mental health days, sensory, like all that kind of stuff, where like obviously if you guys are having a flare up, you don't want to go to a concert and like go, whoa, like that's not. But if you're like having a good day and like your friend invites you and they're excited about it, doesn't that make you excited about it too?
Yeah, and then there's also having a commitment to something, and having a sudden flare-up can make you feel really guilty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you guys both do theater.
Especially, if it costs money or if someone's relying on you and you can't do it because of health reasons, you still feel this immense guilt for committing to it.
You had a flare up during one of your performances.
Yeah.
She knew she was having a flare up, went all the way to the stage, was in costume, and then when I couldn't do it.
I mean, I told them the whole time I probably couldn't. They said there was no other option. I was puking my guts out, could not go on stage. It was not going to happen.
Yeah. But you made it all the way down. Like, I'm surprised you even like did that much. Like, she was trying so hard.
I was trying so hard to make it happen because they told me there was no other option. I'm like, you might have to cancel the show then because this cannot happen. And I felt so guilty, but I couldn't do it. And when those sort of things happen, it's the worst feeling. And like, I shouldn't feel guilty because my body is feeling horrible, but that guilt you feel committing to someone's birthday party, especially if they bought you a ticket to a concert or something very important, and you call that day and go, I'm so sorry, I am so sick. You feel this immense guilt for committing that the next time they do that, you don't necessarily want to commit in case that happens. And there's that guilt in committing itself.
That stop inviting you. Yeah, and like having had friends and family members like who suffer like this, like I always try to make the other person understand I'm not upset. Like obviously I would love Lillian to be at events that she hasn't been at, but I'm not upset because she didn't show up.
Yeah, there's just like times I want to hang out with friends, and then at the time I just feel sick and I'm like have to cancel. Like I feel really bad because they're like, oh, she's just canceling, but like I just literally need to sleep for like a
like you
long
already
time.
feel bad enough because you're missing out on something fun.
I know.
Like,
and I've shown up to friends' houses and fallen asleep in the middle of our get-togethers. And it's just happened, and I couldn't control it. Sometimes I knew it was going to happen. Other times I didn't know it was going to happen. But I was trying to push myself to do these things, and my body couldn't handle it. But that immense guilt of not doing it, not just fear of missing out, but the guilt is just so strong. And people don't really make you feel better for the most part. They're like, no, you committed. You should be here. No, I'm upset that you're not coming. There's not much understanding. And yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm not upset.
And even when there is understanding, you still feel
You
bad.
still feel bad, but like you want to hear those words.
You do want to hear it.
And so you can just relax and focus on getting better. But when they tell you they're upset about it, and then you either get angry at them for feeling that way or just feel guilty, and then you don't get better, your mental health gets worse on top of your physical health. And it's just not a good cycle to be in.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, so we've got a few minutes left. If there's any questions, please leave them in the comments and we'll try to answer them when I can. Do you guys have any last comments? Anything you want to, any opinions you need to get out there before we wrap up?
Just like try and put yourself in other people's shoes, see it from their perspective, ask them questions. If you don't understand, try not to get upset with people as easily, because often there's a good reason. And tell people the reason. Don't just make stupid excuses. That some people do that. Like if you just tell them that you don't feel up to doing something, that should be an acceptable response.
And like be there for each other. Like if somebody doesn't feel well, like you don't have to like just be like but like stop by and or give them like the knowledge that you understand and that you're there for them. Like bring them a card or soup or something, or just even like call them,
text them. Just coming over and watching a movie, even if I'm sleeping through it, is nice when people are willing to do that rather than going out and doing something high energy that I can't handle. Those sort of things I think is helpful.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Please go to OurTism.com for more of my articles where I write about living on the spectrum. I have a workshop coming up with Danny Rady, so that's all that information is at OurTism.com. I'll get to that. I do these live streams once a week, every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. So come back next week. We have the book author Ian coming next week to talk about that. That I'm on the cover of. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys next week. So come back for that. This week we had Dara on and we had Lillian. We were talking about food sensitivities, and this will be available if you guys missed anything and need to rewatch it. All of the live streams are saved, so you go to the OurTism Facebook page, click on videos, and you can see all the ones from the past. Lillian's done past ones, so I don't want to name them all, but Dara did one way in the past on anxiety, so you can scroll back and see that one. If you want to hear more about Dara's story and about anxiety. So we got a question that we can leave off on. What wording has worked well for you when invited somewhere to help people not be upset? If there's anxiety, etc. This has happened to my daughter with her grandmother.
Wait,
so
Mom, I think you might be able to answer this best.
So like when you're upset with anxiety, what are some things that calm you down rather than upset you more? Because like if your mom or your grandmother was trying to help you get through it, what would you want them to say to you?
Okay, I just was confused with the question. Yeah. Well, not even like saying, but just like it like depends on the situation. But like if I want somebody to be there with me, just like having that person near me. If not, staying away and just like, I don't know, just like saying that I'm here for whatever you need. Like don't like
validate.
I think
the question is like for other people to understand.
How do you get your grandparents to understand? How do you get other people?
Oh, okay.
That's what the question
is. Okay.
Is it you've talked more to your family than
So if you're talking to like a family member who doesn't get it, what do you say? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean I can't talk to about like the food stuff, but I can talk to about having autism. And I mean, you can really explain it as much as you want, but there's a point to which they just won't get it, and you kind of have to just let it go and let that judgment happen. But
and that's their problem if they can understand it, because you did everything you can.
But if you're starting, like if you want to express yourself, well, first you have to know what's happening with you. If it's like in the moment, I don't know if you're just explaining in general what you have, because I feel like it's more like you're saying like right now this is what I'm feeling, because you have a diagnosis, right? Or like I'm not quite sure specifically, because like the hardest part is in the moment saying I'm feeling this and expressing it.
The question says, what wording has worked well for you when invited somewhere to help people not be upset? So you have to explain who, I think it goes earlier of explaining who they are. It goes back to the beginning.
Sharing the diagnosis and the symptoms that you personally or your child personally has,
And what that means.
How to treat those symptoms, if that makes sense.
Sometimes just exaggerating it can help, and just being like, well, when I eat this, I feel super sick, super tired, in a lot of pain.
The noise of the party is tough.
Or like if it's sensory, yeah. When I hear that, it causes pain. It causes me to feel sick. It causes me to feel nauseous when I hear certain sounds. So that like at least they get it bothers you, because if you just say, oh, that's annoying, they'll be like, well, suck it up.
Well, I also think though that you shouldn't be required to like go into your entire medical history.
Some people,
but
this is
some people it is.
specifically family.
I know.
Well,
So
I get that, but you have to.
you have to.
If you, because you're in the
Or you'll get
minority,
judged.
you're just gonna be looked at as picky or whiny or like whatever if you don't explain, well, I actually have a diagnosis and this is what I'm going through. Maybe she could have, there's some people that carry around cards that say this is what autism is, this is what Crohn's is, these are my diagnoses, and an explanation. I know like with my service dogs, I have the service dog laws, and sometimes I just hand that to people and I don't want to explain it. So maybe you could write up like a business card thing that she can keep in her pocket. Some people do that with autism. Some people do that with their disease if they can't talk about it, or something like they can read from. That's helped people.
I think this would be a great topic, and we should talk about it.
She's diagnosed with autism. It's only 1 year into it when she isn't up to going somewhere that grandma made plans for.
Just take it offline.
I just want to finish the question though.
Now it's getting weird.
It's okay. So if you mean like canceling plans that she already made, I would say, let me think about it for a minute. What I've done is, if I can't explain it fully in that minute, I go, I can't right now. It has something to do with autism, and then later explain it if they need a full explanation. Because it's such an emotional thing to explain when you need to cancel and you want to go and you don't want people to feel upset. Sometimes you need to wait till you're less emotional about it and explain it later.
I know when we were first diagnosed, all cats have Asperger's symptoms was our first way to really break it down and explain it to people. And we actually gifted those books to a lot of our family members, where I think they really understood a lot of those, because it was so simplified. There were pictures. It was described very simply. And then I've gone back through that and with my mom gone, like, this is what I'm going through. This is what I went through in this situation. This is this moment. I think that's a very helpful book to explain a lot of the things, because they're so simplified, and it's a lot of the things that we deal with. And a lot
of times when you're going through sensory overload, defense mode, or anything, anxiety, you lose language, you lose a lot of your ability to communicate, because you're dealing with pain, you're dealing with emotion, and that's taking up so much energy. So it's a lot of times easier to identify after the fact. So just say like, I'm overwhelmed right now, I'm not feeling well, those kind of things, to like just in the moment, and then later on circle back to, oh, this is exactly what happened, but I couldn't explain it at the time.
I just read it.
So I think for me that I realized that happens.
It's
a lot
not
for
autism,
me.
Asperger's.
Oh,
Yeah, it was. All cats have Asperger's.
Yeah, it's like a cute children's book with pictures of cats and then a little description of like uh, different things that people with Asperger's experience. Yeah, so it's definitely oversimplified, but it's a great way to explain to people who are new to the autism Asperger world what we experience. So I hope that answers your question. I know here's a little bit of a puzzle for us to figure that out. Please message me if you have more questions. Message OurTism, or you can message Chloe Estelle, and we will try to fully answer that when we can. And come back next week and ask more questions. Thank you for watching. Come back next week, you guys. Wednesdays at 7 Pacific Standard Time. I do these live streams every week. Bye, you guys. Stay colorful.